Black women out here living our best life, and we gonna talk about it on the Cute Shoes channel. What's up, y'all? You just tuned in to the Cute Shoes channel, your virtual hangout spot on the chill side of the internet. Your host is Dr. Akua Rose Feathers, and she is going to guide you through the legacy-making brilliance, vulnerability, and awesomeness of Black women. Oh, this is not just a web channel. This is a spotlight, a stage and sanctuary for the rich mosaic of experiences, dreams, and triumphs of Black women. So, kick off your shoes, grab your favorite drink, and chill with us as we dive into some real talk. Let me tell you who's on the show today. On the show today is Alycia Washington. Alycia aids moms in building confidence, releasing guilt, and getting unstuck. Her motherhood journey from guilt to empowerment led her to help other moms break free. She learned how to release the myths and mistakes that kept moms mentally stuck. She chronicles her journey to motherhood in the Amazon bestseller, Girl, Your Brand is a Big Deal anthology. She is on a mission to dispel debilitating mom myths and mistakes through her signature 90-day group coaching program, B.L.O.O.M, Moms Transforming Their Lives in 90 Days. She is based in Indianapolis with her husband, Marquis, and 2 teen sons. Let's get to that conversation. And welcome, Alycia, to the show.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I am too. I am beyond excited. Okay, so what is B.L.O.O.M? Because I noticed that B.L.O.O.M is an acronym. What is B.L.O.O.M an acronym for?
Yay. Okay. So B.L.O.O.M's acronym is Build Confidence, Live with Intention, Operate in Your Purpose, Obtain Clarity, and Move to the Next Level. So I think all of those things you need to get unstuck.
Yeah.
So release all the stuff that's got you stuck and move to your next level. And everybody's next level is different.
Yes.
And so a part of that, my program is really helping moms find out one, who they are now, because we forget. Yes, we
indeed.
get so caught up in being mom that we forget who we are, what we love. I could go. Okay, just tell me to.
I want you to know. I want to hear from you, so I'm gonna cut in sometimes, but I'm like you. I already know you got some good stuff. And when you say moms, and so you said a couple of things in there that just sparked out to me. Number one is your own version. Like this is me. I'm gonna use that word. I despise when people try to put me in their cookie cutter. You are not gonna cut me with your cutter. I don't fit there. You're not gonna put me in a square box because I'm a trapezoid.
Absolutely. And we're designed that way. Like we're all designed with skills and gifts, uniquely designed. And when we become a lot of us, when we become moms, we forget.
Yes.
Because we're so geared on one, making it happen, right? And making it happen for them, which is beautiful, which is what we're supposed to do. But it does not mean we can't make it happen for us too. It's not an either or.
Yeah, come on. And I think
it's both ends.
There's a space though where almost like and it's not even almost, society and our communities and our families almost expect us. Like if you are a mom and you stand in your own, there's a lot of criticism and shaming that comes in that space. We just gonna jump right in, it seems like. We're gonna go back and forth. How do we get through that? How do we get past that? Because we got all these voices,
Oh, absolutely. And that's why I really work with getting moms to understand the myths and the mistakes that we have that's on us, right? Because the myth of, and it's an unpopular opinion, keep the whole kids come first. And that's a myth, and that's a part of that.
Thank you.
Expectations of what moms are supposed to do. And it's not saying that kids aren't important, that we don't love them, that we don't give them everything that we have, that we don't want to pour into them, but they're not first.
They are not.
Because when we put them one, and we've seen this in this as the generations have changed, as the more we start to put them first, the more they entitled they become. They think that that son is actually supposed to revolve around them,
Yes.
and not that they're a part of a community that revolves around something greater.
Yes. Oh,
And
that's
so
good
they
stuff.
get lost in that.
Mhm.
And we're so no, they don't come first. And I use and a lot of people think it's a cliche, but it is one of the best metaphors for self-care and taking care of yourself. And that is putting on your own mask
Yes.
first.
Thank you.
And I have a couple of friends who are flight attendants, and the importance of that, they're like, because if you can't, if you pass out, you can't help nobody
At all.
at all. And
Yeah.
so putting on that mask first, and it doesn't mean that you're not going to, help your child. It just means you got to be ready and
Yes.
healthy and in position so that you can help them.
That's it. That's it. And I've unfortunately seen several women, and a couple of them come directly to mind, who allowed their child to be their orbit, or they orbited around their child, whichever
Oh,
way is the right way to say that.
absolutely.
And then their child became an adult, and then they left. And then that woman was left with, I mean, ultimately
What do I
no
do?
identity.
What do I do?
Exactly.
What do I do? And I remember one of my good friends was faced with when her son turned, and he's an adult now, but when he started high school. That was her aha, to say, like, I got to figure out who I am. I got to
Mm,
figure out some stuff for me, because once he's gone. Like,
yeah.
our job is to launch them,
Yeah.
to help them launch, to help them actually fly the nest, like fly the coop, however they say that.
Hmm.
But they're supposed to go and do and be who
That's
they
it.
are designed to be.
Yes. Yeah. So what even got you into the space? I know that different people have a passion for different things. What even got you into the space where where you are now? You wanted to help moms
Mhm.
to get through this guilt and build something different. And we're gonna talk about that too. But what got you into this space?
I think what got me into this space was my own personal journey through it.
Hmm.
I entered motherhood with a lot of guilt because I had two pregnancy terminations before I was before 21, like at
Okay.
16 and at 21. And so when I entered, um, I never thought I was going to be gifted another child,
Mm,
because of I gave those two gifts back.
wow.
And so I never thought I was going to get that gift again.
Hmm.
And then when my husband and I got married, we our first child was a girl, and she was born at 19 weeks. And
Wow.
so I I look at her life and her death as kind of, so it was really a God kiss, because I saw, because I of the difficulties I have with pregnancy, I really truly believe that's a physical consequence of those
Hmm.
terminations. But God is greater than, he's just greater than. And so because he and I had wrestled with that, and he forgave me long before I forgave myself.
Mm.
And that's a part of that journey, and that guilt and letting go of some of that. He blessed me with being able to birth Victoria. We named her Victoria. And he blessed me with being able to actually birth her, and to hold her whole in my hand.
Wow.
And and people don't understand the gift that was
Yeah.
for me, because I never wanted to go through that again. And so that was a gift. And then with my other two, praise God, they when my first was born, uh I was 2 months, 2.5 months in the hospital on hospital bed
Wow.
rest with him. Like, literally could not get out of the bed. Was not, but
Wow.
I had the potty chair. I don't know how much detail y'all want, but
Listen, get to
had I had the potty chair beside my bed and had to call the nurse just to go to the bathroom. That's how still
wow.
they wanted me to be because I was leaking fluid, amniotic fluid.
Yeah.
And so his, he was born early. I think he was born at 32 weeks. I think he was 32 weeks, and my youngest is 34 weeks after a cesarean.
Mm,
I did not have to do hospital bed rest with him, but I
okay.
did have to do bed rest.
Okay.
But and the pregnancy stories. So I had a lot of physical um, consequences of
Mm,
those early choices.
okay. And then that brought with them some guilt
Oh,
from,
absolutely.
yeah.
Like when I was gifted with these boys, even though right now they're teenagers and they get on my last nerve, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Just gonna put that
Yeah.
like because we get them when they're small and cute and cuddly
Just love
so that we can remember that we love them and they're not so
and we
cuddly.
don't and we don't then hug them on their neck so
Around
lovingly.
really, really tight, like
Mhm.
real tight around the
Mm.
neck.
Just
Yeah.
give them so much love. So much.
Oh, you like, oh, you want to be glad I love you. But I call it bottles blazing when I had my first.
Mm,
And so because I did see it as a gift that I was allowed to have this child
yeah.
and that he was here, he was whole, and he was ours. And so I became a stay-at-home mom at that point. My husband's a truck driver. And then 3 years later, his brother came along. And so now I've got these two little toddlers, 3 and under. My husband's on the road, and here I am as a stay-at-home mom. And I was full force mom, like woof, in there.
Yeah.
And at some point, as they got a little older, we also along the journey homeschooled because my
Nice.
my oldest is has a what is it, ADHD,
Mhm.
and I knew before he was diagnosed that he had it, and so that was a part of our decision to homeschool. And it was second semester, first grade. That's first semester. His teacher, who I loved to pieces, his first grade teacher, she said in the car line, she said, "Miss Washington, I just want you to know I'm not coming back next semester." And this is when we were trying to decide if we
Mm,
were going to homeschool. And one of the reasons it was so hard was because I had a good rapport with her and she was really
yeah.
good with him.
Yeah.
And when she told me that,
Yeah.
that was it.
I
Okay.
get it. I get it.
That
I
that made our decision.
I homeschooled my daughter for I think it was a year and a half, um, for a similar reason.
Mm-hmm.
I won't dive too much into that, but there were some teachers who were not good with her.
Mm-hmm.
And so until we were able to find someone find those who were, I was like,
Yeah.
I got this. We gonna
We're
take
going
care
to
of
do this
this.
this way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a beautiful experience. But even through that struggle and all of that, it came to a point where I had no idea who I was.
Yeah.
And my husband, who is um he's that philosopher, like he's always got questions for you and wants to have these deep conversations and stuff, and he would ask me, what's your dream? And I would get so annoyed with him, like leave
Wow.
me alone, annoyed. And I think he thought it was because I was just being mean, but really deep down I had no idea how to answer that.
Mm, there it
and,
is.
and I didn't know how to voice that I had no idea.
So in that space where you're holding this guilt and you're mommying full time, like and definitely want to get into the space where your husband was asking you questions. I'm curious, how did that guilt, like what did that guilt look like? Like how did it show itself up
Oh,
as
I
you
would
were holding it down?
I I was trying to resume, repair, restore my good girl image.
Mm.
Before I got pregnant at 16, I was the good girl. I was the quiet girl. I'm an introvert by nature. I was quiet, smart. I had my little circle of friends, but I was the good girl. And there were many expectations of me.
Mhm.
And when I got pregnant, that crushed it all.
Yeah.
And I don't even think a lot of my family, like if when they see this or if they read the my chapter in the book, they're like, oh, because only at the time my mom and my sister knew what had happened.
Okay.
Because my mom, she gave me an ultimatum that night. I never told my mom. See, this is how like 16-year-olds really just should not be having sex anyway. But I never told her I was pregnant. My boyfriend and I went to church together, and we were at church writing notes back and forth on the church program
Mm.
about our life and the baby and all this, because it she was born in love and teenage love and all of that, or conceived in that way. And so my mom and got home like I usually do on a Sunday and just put the
Put
program
the stuff
down.
down. Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. That's how my mama found out.
Wow.
Because she would, as usual, pick up the program to see who was at church, what they talk
Uh-huh.
about.
Mhm. Yeah. Thinking,
So
oh, all these notes. Look at my baby taking notes of the sermon right here. Oh my gosh.
I heard her call my name in a way that I
Oh
knew
yeah.
something was not right. I was in my room and she called me and I came in and she had the program in her hand.
Oh my
And that's
goodness.
when my world went woof,
I was gonna say I feel it dropping right now.
woof.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
gosh.
in that moment, I think from that moment, I've always been trying to restore that good girl image.
Mhm. Yeah. It's interesting, like, and my story is a little bit different. I didn't consent to my first experience, but I was the good girl. And the way the story was retold, because I also didn't have control of the narrative, and so the way
Mm,
the story was retold, um, framed it as something consensual, and I lost my good girl image. And it's
mm,
very interesting how those things can follow us through life and create a part of our identity. I feel like it's like a road and it's that thing happens and then it's like a what do you call it? Off ramp. It's like an
yep.
off ramp of our identity. And I'm really curious about your journey from, that place of trying to restore, holding guilt to
Mm.
where you are now. And before where are you now? Like you're helping women. So this where are you
Yeah.
now?
Well, now I am free of a lot of that guilt and I recognize what was motivating me at the
Mhm.
time. Like it's funny because that whole trying to be that good girl image fell right into that myth of the supermom.
Oh, that's
It
good.
it fell right into that myth, like, and especially as a Black woman, we already have that superwoman, like,
Yes.
we've gotta save everybody, we've gotta do everything,
Mhm.
and so now I'm like, well, I'm married, which I never really, I grew up in a single parent household. I had other examples around me,
Yeah.
so I had seen it before, but I never experienced it, close at hand. And so I'm married, now I got these kids, and it's like, "Oh, snap. I've got to be
Yeah. Ugh. Yep.
I've got to do this right. I
Oh my
can't make any
goodness.
mistakes." My husband was on the road a lot, so I've gotta do this. I can't, and I didn't want to, and he was struggling with his own things being on the road.
Mhm.
And so I didn't want to put any extra on him.
Okay, that's another I can handle it. I'm super.
I'm
Okay.
super. And
Mhm.
God always shows up because he did provide me with an amazing support network. Like I
Nice.
had a moms and kids group. We were Moms and Kids for Christ. We would meet every week, I think, when the boys were little. And that turned into a support safe space for us moms. And to this day, we still have that connection
That's
and
what's up.
that, hey, what are we doing? I we we do call outs. Who can get together this week via Zoom, via lunch, dinner, whatever, because I need some sister time.
It's beautiful.
And so that has been a saving grace for me. And I think that helped me along my journey because it kept me sane.
Nice.
Like I probably would not be here as clearly as I am now, if the clarity I had, if I had not had them, because they also hold me accountable for some stuff.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, you can't, no, don't do that. Because, sometimes the flesh Alycia would be like, oh no, we're not doing that. And I would get do you want to show love or do you want to be right? I'd be like, okay, so how can we do this?
I want you to stop
Right.
talking to me right now. Not for real though, but I mean.
Right. You gotta go there. And so it's wonderful to have that because we are that for each other, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so, but even with them and that support, I started to lose it. And it was, how do I describe this? It was more of it wasn't that I stopped caring, but I was growing numb.
Mm,
I was growing numb and I didn't know where and what I was supposed to be doing now.
mhm,
And I think a big part of that was when we um, moved back. We lived in Virginia for a little while. That's my hometown. And then we moved back to Indianapolis. And during that time, I had a fall and I found out I have the knees of a 90-year-old.
mm,
And so that changed a lot of things. And I think
yeah.
that even took my I was already kind of fading and kind of numb before then. And that just took me all the way, like, because now I don't even have that part of me.
Yeah.
Like everything has changed and I don't know who this Alycia is anymore.
I'm curious as we're kind of getting this thread of having lost elements of your identity.
Mm,
One question I have is, do you think that in that group, maybe being in that group, while it provided you with all of the support and this like camaraderie and accountability and sisterhood, do you think that it might have also lent to some elements of, feeling like I got to be the super mom? Like if this mom's, always pack the cute snacks in the cute little box and they have all
oh
the
no,
things.
we're not that kind of group.
Nice. That's that's why I asked because that shows that you know what I mean. That some of them groups exist. Okay.
Right. And
Yeah.
now, and not to say that we didn't have some of those moms in the
No, I
group,
get you. Mhm.
but we just honored each other for what we
Love
brought
it.
to the table.
Love it.
And even the mom, like we have a couple of those moms, and we just love her because that's who she is. She's
Yeah.
the clutch the pearls mom. Like we know, we know not to put her in the, what do we call it? We call it the Tupac versus Proverbs 31 chat. There's another name for it, but she can't be in that chat.
Uh-huh.
She
Uh-huh.
can't, like, and we've had, because she was like, well, I wanna, and so we told her one of the stories that happened in the chat, and she was like, yeah,
Yeah.
you're right, you
I
did.
probably shouldn't be in there.
I
Yeah.
should. We
I love
don't.
it.
We love you for who you are.
I love it. I love it.
In the other chat. So yeah.
So having that support group helps, then you all move to another place. You
Mhm.
hurt yourself. And then it's like it starts to deepen that space. It starts to deepen.
Yeah,
What is
absolutely.
what does that look like, and how do you find your way through it?
In 2020, I remember I 2020 when it was when I recognized that I was stuck.
Mm,
I I can see the patterns forming and the kind of the sinking happening. But it wasn't until 2020 that I voiced it. I recognized it for
okay.
myself.
Mhm.
And I think that was the piece that got me on the road to figuring out some stuff for me.
Nice.
I've always wanted, I love group work. I have a counseling background, and I like facilitating a group is like my jam. I
Yes.
love doing that. Right. And so that has always been kind of my strong piece. But I knew all the things in my head of what should do, could do, all the signs, but it's different. You can't you can't operate on yourself.
Mhm. That's
And
it.
so you can't operate on yourself. So in 2020, I was intentional. I remember we had a vision, my friend had a vision board party, and that was my vision for the year, is to get unstuck. And that's
Mm,
why I really drive that point, because sometimes we don't know what it is.
yeah.
We just know we don't feel the same. We're in this rut and we can't get out.
Yes.
And so that was the catalyst for I had to recognize it.
Yeah.
I had to recognize what it was, and then give myself some grace to be like, I don't have to fix it tomorrow.
Mhm.
I didn't
Yes.
get here,
Like
in a
that.
day like
Mhm.
that, but I gotta start fixing something and figuring
Yeah.
out what this looks like. So, and that meant for me, especially, was being honest about what I feel and
Mhm.
how I feel it,
Mhm.
and not letting anybody tell me that that wasn't what I should be feeling.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I had a conversation. Bless his heart, I love him, but I say my husband's a philosopher, and he has, usually when he asks a question, he kind of has the answer in his head. And when it doesn't fit, he'll keep asking the question. I'm
Uh-huh.
like, bruh, I done told you, right.
I
It
gave
ain't
you
gonna,
an answer.
I know it's not the answer you wanted, but that's all I got to
That's all
give
I
you.
got. It's
All I
there's
got.
nothing else coming in that yeah.
All done. All done. What are we doing here? No. But I had to get to a place where I could even voice that, that
Yeah.
I could even voice that, and not be to not feel like I'm responsible for his feelings about it.
Yeah. That's good
Like,
stuff. That's good stuff.
we had to go through our own stuff, but I think that was my awakening. Like, I'd already kind of love group work, like I said, and doing stuff for women, and serving women. I've done all kind of ministry with women and kids and everything, but I had to figure out some stuff for myself. So that meant, for me, definitely journaling again,
Mhm.
getting that stuff out,
Mhm.
um, really talking, because I said I am the introvert, but I'm also the friend who everyone comes to. And then when and I do have friends who check on me, but I don't
Good.
give them anything. Or I didn't give
Oh.
them anything.
That's good right there. I got some other stuff I want to ask you about, and I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, please, time, be kind. Because you said something. So there's this phrase that I'm sure everybody has heard it. Check on your strong friend. If you have that friend that's supporting, make sure you check in on them. But
Mhm.
we gotta be honest sometimes because we got some people checking on us. And what's some stuff that we say? Oh, I'm
Oh,
good.
I'm good. Oh, or, and this is my gift. I can take it and spin that junk around and
Mm.
ask a question to get them talking
All
to
for you.
us now.
Listen,
Come on.
and talented. And they won't even notice it
Mhm.
because they do have something that they need to talk about. And you're
Always,
like,
always have stuff we gotta.
yeah. And so
Well,
now you were
how are
successful.
you?
What
Well, what's
is
going on
that?
with something? And they'll be like, and I had my I had a moment recently where my best friend, and we've been tight since my 8th grade year. She's a couple years older than me. She called me and she said, and usually she's the introverts always have that extrovert friend and the extrovert
Yes.
husband.
Yes. Mhm.
And so I went in first with her. So how you doing? She said, no, we're not doing that.
Love her.
We're not doing that. She said, I called to check in on you.
Oh, whoever you are, friend, I love you. Yes. Uh-huh. What else? How did she get you together? What?
Got me all the way together because we have a mutual friend who I've known since she's my sister since kindergarten,
Mm,
who is now going through cancer,
mm.
and she has gotten she had some reaction to the radiation, and so she was hospitalized. And my best friend is a breast cancer survivor.
Okay.
And so I walked with her, even though she's in Virginia and I'm here in Indianapolis. So, that whole, I can't be there physically for you guys, but, walked with her through that journey.
Yeah.
And so she called, she's like, I know she said, it just dawned on me really after seeing one of her posts that, you've been through this with me and now you're going through this with her. And she said, I wanted to check and see how you're doing
Hmm.
because I know this can't be easy.
Right.
You talk, I lost it.
Yeah.
I couldn't say anything. I
Yeah.
was too busy bawling because she had voiced what I was feeling,
Hmm.
but didn't have the space or place to say it because I didn't want to put anything else on
Hmm.
anybody else.
Hmm.
Right. And then it's almost like she gave me permission to feel what I feel and then
Yes.
to talk about it because then I shared that with my husband. And so I don't even know if he understood the depth of that feeling of watching. And I've already lost 2 friends to cancer.
Mm.
So watching another friend have to go through this, it's it it's a heart strain, it hurts.
Yeah.
And for her to recognize, and she just kept talking. She's like, she just loved on me in that moment.
Yeah.
And I appreciated her because I truly could not say anything because it was just such a release of emotion in that time that
Yeah.
I'm not okay.
Yes.
And I can say that.
That part. And the power in being able to say that it is not the negative thing that some of us envision or imagine or assume it to be. It's
Absolutely.
so powerful and
Absolutely.
empowering because then you get to feel somebody embracing you even from afar.
Yes. Absolutely.
And I'm hearing in your journey from Supermom, and I think the journey to the space where I don't want to say where you are because I don't want to sound as if I'm narrating your story. Coming away from that place of, holding on to the super mom or the superwoman mentality, I think that involves that path of understanding yourself. And the way I'm hearing you describe it is that you see the thing, you begin to see it. And I think we have that knowing. We see it over time. And you said it was 2020 when you were like, okay, forefront, we finna deal with this. See
Yeah.
it, uh, and then I'm trying to understand my handwriting. Own it. Oh, see it, be honest about it, own
Yeah.
it, and release what other people have to say about it. And
Yeah.
that's coming from what I hear from you. That's all a part of that journey. And
Absolutely.
I love that, 2020 was an awful time for so many people.
Oh,
And I love stories like this one where something beautiful emerged from it.
oh yeah. And because I'm telling you, God's grace is sufficient because, I hear the COVID stories of 2020.
Yeah.
2020 was like really sweet for me
Wow.
because I got to I got to work on me. And
Yes.
my husband was home and we realized that we really do like each other. And sometimes you forget,
Bonus.
like, oh, we can be in the same space and because he's usually on the road.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so we always had that, well, that, in the back of our head, will we be okay if we're like together more often? Like, what would that be? And then boom, 2020 hits, and we're all here,
Uh-huh.
all four of us in this house. You'd be like, "Ooh, it's a good thing we got some square footage, but why is everybody in this room?" But I got that time to really like and work on me, and then it was like, oh, this is, and then it was funny because when I recognized it and started to release some stuff, and it's almost like all the knowing that I had
Mm.
went swoosh. And I was like, oh, and then I started, and that's how kind of Bloom emerged. Because I was like, as I listened to other moms and other women who were going through stuff, it was some of the same stuff. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm not alone in this.
Mm-mm.
And then knowing what I had wished I had known back in the day when they were little too. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I had a mentor at the time who really tried to get me to do self-care. And her thing was, it was hilarious. It's funny now to think that this was such a hard task for me, but she told me, she's like, I just want you to go buy a $5 pair of earrings. Just go buy. It doesn't have to be major. Just go buy a pair. And the anxiety, because I'm a stay-at-home
Wow.
mom, one income, I didn't buy stuff for me unless it was absolutely necessary.
Mhm.
I had stopped wearing jewelry when the boys were little because they were all 100% tear up stuffed boys. And they like to pull, and
Mhm.
we played hard, and so it was just dangerous.
Mhm.
Something was just gonna be, I was gonna be choked, or my ear gonna be pulled, something's gonna happen. I
Uh-huh.
stopped wearing jewelry.
You know what? Isn't that interesting how moms like I'm just so my children are both over 20. And I am getting to the place where I'm starting to buy, but it's to the point of the work that you do. I'm starting to buy stuff for myself, but I'm also discovering who I am, who I've become, right? And
Yep.
I can envision some of that space of mothers. Like what's interesting is I was doing this work when they were younger. Like I was putting myself first in certain spaces. I'm curious about the unstuck piece because you talk about helping moms get unstuck. Where does that play in in the process of, you know, knowing who you are and transforming, remembering that you're a woman who is a mom? Where does getting unstuck show its head or being stuck?
I think how I see it is when we feel that sinking feeling,
Mm.
it's because we have really forgotten who we are, whose we are. And so when you start, and that's kind of like that first step in recognizing who you are in terms of what you believe, what brings you joy, um, what you like, what do you dream about?
Uh,
What do you dream to do? What's your dream life look like outside of the kids?
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
what what brings you joy outside of them?
yeah.
And not to say that we can't find joy. Like, I love when my kids are doing good, or when they have these aha moments, or they come in and they want to have conversation. They're teenagers. Do you want to talk to your mom? Okay, what are we talking about? And then you try not to show that you're all giddy, that you're
Absolutely.
talking.
Absolutely.
And you're like, Because inside I'm like, oh, they're talking to me.
Uh-huh. And outside it's like, huh? I mean, whatever. What's up? We can talk. I'm cool.
Oh, let me pause this for a minute. I'll just pause this. What? But no, inside you're like, yes, I'm having a good conversation.
Love it.
Right? But we have to be able to do that for ourselves too. What do you like to talk about?
Yes.
What do I like to talk about? What do I like? I haven't, what books do I like to read now? Do
Come
I like to
on.
read
Do I
now?
like Yes.
Like I used to before kids, my addiction was books.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Devour.
I might not even read all of them. I just like to have them in case I wanted to read that one.
Wow.
It
Love
was
it.
bad. It was,
Love it. No, I
I
had
would start
books.
like two books. I'd be like, okay, I read that one. Oh, let me see what this one's about. Then I might come back to this one. I just books everywhere. And
Yeah.
and now I'm like, oh, I don't read like I used to.
Mhm.
Oh, but there's Audible. Okay.
Yes. I'm getting used to Audible. I am because I love the book. I love interacting with the book. I love hearing the pages turn and turning them and all of that. But I also have things that I'm doing, and so it's great to push play and just let the person tell me what it says. Um, so I'm Go ahead, go ahead.
No, I would just say absolutely. Like both
Yeah.
of those are great. Like when I'm in a study, like some friends of ours are doing a Bible study together. I like to have that book. So I don't like to
Yeah.
do it on the screen. I'm a note taker. So I have all kind of notes, even in like fiction books. I'll
Mhm.
have notes on the side. I see
Uh-huh.
common themes. My family, they kind of get annoyed with me a little bit, even when we watch movies, because I'll ask those questions like, so, what lesson did you learn? Or what do you, and I'll pull out something. And my
Mhm.
youngest will be like, Mom, can you just watch the movie?
Oh my gosh, they must go to some script school because my daughter, she's like, "Come on, mom, it's just a song." It's
It's never just the song.
It
There's
is
messages and
never.
meanings and everything. And they hate it when I bring that stuff out. But then my oldest would be like, I can't unsee it now, Mom. I was like,
Uh-huh.
and
You're
then
you're
he does
welcome,
it,
maybe.
right. And then he does it because he likes the film aspect, the cinematography,
Cinematography.
cinematography.
Uh-huh.
And so he's like, yeah, and then they did this, and then and I just look at him like, yeah, you get that from your mom.
So,
Just took it
all
on a
right.
different. That's
But
me coming out in you.
I love that. I love that interview. Like I'm hearing it like interview yourself. Get curious about who you
Absolutely.
are, what you like. Do you still like the things that you used to like? How has that changed? How has it grown, developed, or
And
stayed the same?
and then figure out who you want to be.
Yes.
Who you
Say
want
that
to
because
be.
I don't think a lot of people realize that we get to have a hand in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get to redefine who we are.
Yes.
And I think, you started the baseline of recognizing some things. And then it's like, this is what I really love.
Yes, yes, yes.
How do I get to do that from here? And
Come
then we
on.
figure it out.
Come on. I
We
love
figure
it.
it out. Some stuff we gotta change some mindset. We gotta change some limiting beliefs. All of that.
Yeah.
Break some barriers,
Yes.
break through some walls, and then turn those. I have a thing called the leaky cup.
Mhm.
Like we all hear and talk about, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Mhm.
You have to be full. But what happens is that because of our traumas, because of our limiting beliefs, because of our mindsets and expectations,
Oh, that's
we
good.
have all kind of holes in our cup
My
that
goodness.
we don't even recognize are there. And we're trying to figure out why stuff is leaking out.
Wow.
Why we can't, why when I try to pour out, there's nothing there.
And I'm thinking of the song of The Wiz where she says, "Time be my friend." Time is not being my friend right now because sometimes when we're leaking, sometimes it is our, and I'm going to use this word, it's our obligation or our responsibility as a mom that creates some of that leakiness. And I think then that takes us back to that guilt, because how do I plug up the hole when this is a part of being a mom? What do I do with that?
You have to first, you have to recognize, is this really a part of being a mom?
Ooh,
Because we have set some stuff, some standards, some expectations that are unrealistic.
that's good
And
stuff.
so we think it's part of being a mom
Whew,
because it's part of being that super mom. It's a
that's
part of
good.
being putting the kids first, you
Wow.
know, and it's a part of, well, I can't put me first because then that's selfish.
Wow.
I have to ignore how I feel and what I think because it's important to them.
Wow.
And so we are our own worst enemy.
Facts.
We put all of this on ourselves. Like, yes, there's society expectations, but we believe it.
Come on. Come. Yes.
We take it on as our expectations.
Yes.
We have to get to a point that says, hold up. That might work for you.
Come on.
That's cool, but that's not how we do things in this house. And
Wow.
having and I will say I'm blessed to have, a partner where I can say that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then being able to voice that
Hmm.
and say this is not, and being we don't have to have it all together. We can be a hot mess and still be a good mom.
For the louder for the people in.
Right? A hot mess. I know I'm a hot mess. And
Mm,
I appreciate that I'm still a work in progress.
yes,
And it's okay.
it
Because
is very much
that's
okay.
a good work in progress.
That's yes,
Come on, man.
yes. I
It's a good work in progress.
I love
And
it.
so what I have to bring to the table is valuable. And another piece is helping moms understand that their value is not in what they do. Their value is who they are and how they walk through the world. That's your value. It's not what you do. It's not if you bring the snacks,
Come on,
if you bring the homemade granola,
come on.
not if you are the boss mom or the stay-at-home mom or this mom or whatever. No. How do you show up in the world? How do you show
Yes.
love? How do you um how do you walk when things are not great?
Yeah.
How do you show anger?
Mm,
Like, come on, we get mad too,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and then how do you fix it when you mess up?
Yes.
We're gonna mess up. Even, and it's okay. And to understand that all of that is a part of who we are and the value that we bring. And it's not in what you do, it's who you are
Yes.
and how you do it. We can do it's a comedian out there. His name is Michael Jr.
Ah,
And
I love
like
it. Yep.
he has this piece. This is a video that he did where he was, I think it was a men's conference, and he was talking to the men, and he asked he asked this guy, what does he do? And the guy was either he was a musician, or I don't know if he taught music or something, but it was something in the music field. And he goes, okay, cool, sing for me. So the guy is an older black guy. He sang Amazing Grace. Beautiful,
Mhm.
beautiful job. He did an amazing job with that song. And you're like, and Michael was like, yeah, you can sing. Like, yeah. And so then he told him to sing like, I forgot. It was something like sing like, your mom was watching, or your cousin. He gave some like emotional
Mhm.
attachment to how you
Mhm.
sing, the why you're singing.
Uh-huh.
And this man brought the house down.
Yes, yes.
Same song, different why, different
Yes.
purpose, right? He understood the assignment,
Yes.
and he sang with a renewed purpose, a
Yes.
renewed why, and
Whew.
it brought the house down.
I
And it's
just
not
might.
what, it's your why.
It's a why. I just might link that video in the comments of this episode. You like everything that you were saying, everything that you've said so far, I can see how, like, even though my children are grown, and I don't live with regret. I don't live with regret, right? I experience it, but I don't live with it. I would have loved to have a you in my world when my kids were younger.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm grateful that there are so many women who do have you. So I'm going to ask you two questions as we wrap up our time, and I'm really
Mhm.
sad that we have to wrap up. First, I want to know, how can people get in touch with you? How can we find you? How can we continue to learn from you? How can we connect with what you have to offer?
Awesome. I am on Instagram and Facebook at Bloom with Alicia. And I do right now it's twice a week, not twice a week, twice a month, master class called More Than Just a Mom, where we talk about the myths and the mistakes and how to reclaim your mojo. And so that's and I can send the link for that as well in the comments.
Absolutely. It'll be showing in the episode comments. So,
So,
one of the things that I love to do is to give my guests the last word. So I'm
oh,
going to ask you the question, and then I'm going to talk a little bit to stall so you can think through whatever it is that you want to say.
thank you.
Um, absolutely. I think I want to know, what is it? Oh, that mother that is in the middle of it. Her kids are,
Mm,
young. She's still very actively in the raising process and the raising part of motherhood. And
mm,
she could go either way. She about to lose it. So I would love for you to speak to her. And while you consider what it is that you have to say to her, I want to offer to you my gratitude. I am really grateful for the work that you're doing. Like I said, I would have loved to have an Alicia. I would have been able to bloom with Alicia when I was in the midst of my parenting. But I am so grateful that there are mothers out there, because motherhood is such it's an unfair space where just because you have the ability to give birth, you're automatically assumed that you know how to raise children and how to be a mom. And it's so multifaceted and it's so different. This mom is not going to be the same kind of mom that this mom is, because they don't have the same kind of kids. So many
mm.
variables in there. And I'm really grateful that you get to work with the moms and just help them to find joy and satisfaction in their momminess then, but also
Yeah,
not to forget that mommy is a woman. Mommy is a whole human being who's got
that's
a
right.
whole other aspect to herself. So thank you, thank you, thank you for being with me today.
Mhm.
And I would love for you to have the last word. Please speak to that mom who needs to hear from you.
Awesome. So thank you for allowing me to be here and to share with you and for the other moms out there. And I would say to the mom who is in the midst of the mommying, the little people, snot nose, diapers, all of that, um, give yourself grace. Give yourself grace. That's the biggest piece because you don't have to know it all. You don't have to be perfect. You know, you have been given an assignment, but it's not an assignment that where you have to forget who you are in the process, right? So you give and you love, but you also remember to love yourself. Give yourself grace. Enjoy this time as much as you can because it's hard. It's hard work, but it's meaningful. It's a blessing. And even in the hard work, there's joy. Find the joy in being a mom and find the joy in being you. Remember your name. Say your name. Enjoy who you are in this process and hold on to that. Also, a practical tip is to journal through this process because it helps you stay connected to what you're thinking, where your heart is, and it gives you a space to be you unapologetically.
Yes.
And that's what I would hope for you.